Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley if you are new here, and in this video I just wanted to talk a little bit about the reasons behind why we are homeschooling. I was a bit hesitant to film this video just because I sort of just assume that like everyone is homeschooling for the same reasons, and I felt like it might be redundant to kind of share our reasons. But once I thought about it a bit more, I realized that that's just not true. Everyone is homeschooling for different reasons, and some of them may overlap, but I thought it would help you get to know our family a bit more if I went into detail exactly the reasons that we are choosing to homeschool. So, the main reason that we are homeschooling, and I think this is a big reason for a lot of other Christians, is just for that exact reason because we are Christians and we want to raise our kids to know and love Jesus. And we feel like one major way of doing that is by spending a lot of time with them and having a lot of influence over their lives. Of course, you can do this well, not homeschooling. You still have a lot of time with your kids if you don't homeschool, but um, I feel like for me personally, that spending more time with them can only be beneficial to have more time to teach them, not just obviously school things, but the more important things like having good character, and like I said, how to know and love Jesus and how to be good followers of Jesus. So, the next reason that we want to homeschool is very similar to the first one. It is that we want to have more control over the worldview that they are taught. Obviously, if you don't live under a rock, you know that there are a lot of um, principles that are being taught in public schools specifically that are go against what is a biblical worldview. And while I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form we should be sheltering our children from the world, it is our job to raise them up to be lights in this world, to teach other people about who Jesus is. So I don't intend to keep them protected from the world. And I had to wrestle with this a lot when it came to wanting to homeschool. Was I trying to do that? And I knew that um, can be hard, like because I want to protect them, but I know it's not good to protect them too much. But the conclusion that I came to is just that in these younger years specifically, they obviously aren't Christians themselves yet. We are still raising them to make their own choice in that area. So I want them to first understand a biblical worldview before they go and learn about other worldviews, and so that they have a strong foundation in what our family believes, and then they will be able to know right from wrong, and just so that they don't get confused, that they have, like I said, a strong foundation. They know what is truth and what isn't truth, and then say in the later years, if they are, or I should say when they are subject to these different ideas of, different worldviews, that they, like I said, have a strong foundation. I feel like if they are only 6 or 7 or 8 years old or something, and they are given these worldviews that are not in line with what our families are, it could be a bit confusing. So, yeah, that is part of the reason why we chose to homeschool. And like I said, it was something that I had to wrestle with because before we even really thought about homeschooling or not homeschooling, when Shane was even just like 3 or 4, I always had this idea in my head that it would be really cool to homeschool, but I really didn't know anyone who was homeschooled. My cousin's wife is homeschooled, but they live in another state from us, so I don't know her very well. And she's honestly, I think, the only person that I know, like personally, that, and not even that personally, like I said, that was homeschooled. So I grew up going to public school. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. So I had this idea that homeschooling was maybe, I don't know, like maybe a weird choice, or like my kids might come out like socially awkward, or, you know, just the like standard myths of homeschooling. So I had to really wrestle with all of those things. I didn't really even admit to myself or my husband that I fully wanted to homeschool because I was worried that it wasn't a good choice at first. And then we had to kind of go down the path and really start thinking about it when my son was, you know, 4 and would be going into preschool, is when we really just started actually talking about it. And I really admitted, you know, I really would like to homeschool. And like I said, we had to wrestle with all of those other things, like, were we doing it because we were too afraid to let go? Were we doing it because we wanted to protect them too much? And obviously we came to the conclusion that there is a lot of good in homeschooling, and that those were not the intentions to homeschool. Sorry, that was a bit rambly, but that is the gist of that reason behind wanting to homeschool. So the third reason why I chose to homeschool is because I really didn't want to give up the time with my kids. This was kind of ties to the other point that I was just talking about. I was a bit scared that maybe I was just too afraid to let go. Was, you know, this is just a normal part of life. Kids get older, they go to school. Maybe I should, you know, maybe I just am too afraid to let go of some control. But when I sat down and realized it, and I read the book Wild and Free, and the author talks a lot about extending the children's childhoods by keeping them home, and that it's not a bad thing if you want to spend more time with your child. I don't know why I thought that that was like a way of being too afraid to let go of him or something, but I genuinely love spending time with my kids, as I'm sure you do too if you chose to homeschool or are thinking about homeschooling. And that's just the main reason why I really wanted and continue to want to homeschool, is I value the time with them so much. I think about how one day they're going to be older and they're going to move out of our house, and we won't get to see them every day most likely. And obviously that makes me a little bit sad. So I want to cherish this time now, and I want to spend as much time as I'm able to, and homeschooling gives me that opportunity. So the next reason why I chose to homeschool is that I think it is really awesome that we get to choose the education that best fits each of our children. I think it's so cool that we get to learn their specific strengths and weaknesses, and we can slow down or speed up depending on how well they are doing in each subject. And obviously that's not always possible in a school setting because there are so many other children around. And also, like you have seen here on this channel, I am trying to tailor my son's education to his interests, which are currently learning about animals. And we found the Gather Round curriculum that he learns so much about animals, and I think it's really taught him to really enjoy education. And I don't know if that would have been the same case if he went to a school, but I, again, like really value the opportunity that I get to be the one who gets to pick his curriculum, and I get to really help foster a love of learning and a love of hopefully reading. And yeah, so that is definitely a really major reason why I enjoy homeschooling, why I'm choosing to homeschool. If something isn't working for our school, I can just switch it up. We can try something new. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen often because I don't know if that would be a great thing, but you get what I'm saying. There is so much more flexibility in a homeschooled education than if you went to a private or public school. And the last reason why we chose to homeschool is just because of the flexibility. I think it's really awesome that if we had a really hard day, or a really hard night, I should say, and the next day we wake up and someone is sick, or I don't know, the baby was up all night and I don't have the energy that day, we could take a day off and it's not a big deal. There isn't someone else telling me how many days we have to do school or not. Obviously, I am not taking off all the time. There is definitely structure and a schedule that we follow, but again, I think you understand what I'm saying here, in that there's just a lot more flexibility. If we want to do a field trip one day, we can just go and do a field trip. I don't have to take them out of school. I don't have to worry about them missing school. One of my favorite things ever is that we get to do things like field trips, going to places. We could do it during the day, when we don't have to go on a weekend when it would have been really packed and there would be a ton of people there to begin with. So our family was sort of already used to that sort of a flexibility before, because my husband works 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. So he comes home midday. So we kind of tend to do things when other people are at work or in school, even before we start doing school. So we weren't used to like having to battle all of the crowds at places. So to continue that lifestyle into schooling is just a perk for sure for us. And then along the same lines, I like the flexibility because now we are able to do extracurriculars with our kids and we don't have to worry about overloading our schedule. My family and I really value having a lot of downtime in our family. Like, we don't want to be rushing from one thing to the next. We try to uphold a Sabbath on Saturdays where we aren't working. We are trying to rest and that sort of a thing. So not having to go to school for 8 hours, 6 hours, however long schooling is, and then coming home and having to do homework and getting dinner done, and then potentially going to a sporting event or something like that sounds like a lot. And I feel like it's a lot for kids. So my son has done t-ball for the first time this spring, and it hasn't felt like too overwhelming. It has cut into our Sabbath because his games are on Saturdays. So we're still kind of trying to navigate, how do we uphold a Sabbath where we are resting well and still doing sports with our family. But anyway, the point of it is that there's so much flexibility in that we're not doing school for 6 hours a day. So the kids just get to, like I said in the Wild and Free book, they get to experience a childhood. My boys are outside for hours now that it is nice and warm outside, and they just play together and have so much fun, and it gives us time to do other activities like going to play groups and hopefully joining co-ops and just doing other things than just being in school. And we get to do it as a family, which is really awesome. And my boys get to like be friends in a way that they might not be as close if they were in different grades and Shane was in school and that sort of thing. So yeah, those are the reasons why we chose to homeschool. I hope this isn't too rambly. I hope I got across why and that all made sense. If you are choosing to homeschool, I would love it if you left a comment below as to what your top reasons why you're homeschooling, if they're similar to ours. Like I was saying, I feel like for Christians, they tend to be very similar, but I would be really interested to know if you had a different reason from the reasons that I gave here. And I just wanted to thank you so much for being here. This little community that we have here where we can come together and talk about homeschool and all of these types of things have been really fun for me, and I'm really grateful that you are here. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one.